What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Love After Lockup Season 5, Episode 10, Running from Love. Let's start off with Red and Joy. So Red and Joy are leaving Red's mother's house, and this is after Red's family confronted him about why was he in such a rush to leave Missouri to go to New Mexico with Joy, because they were telling him, you just got out of prison, we want to spend more time with you. You can at least give us 2 weeks. And Red says, no, I'm ready to go with my wife, go back home, see my son, etc., etc. So the mother got really upset, saying this is not even your wife. Y'all are not even married. So the family felt really hurt and betrayed by Red because he just refused to spend more time with them. So on their way back to the hotel, they're talking about how unreasonable his family was. This was basically Joy. It was mostly Joy saying that, his family was being very unreasonable. Like, what the hell do they expect? To have to get back to work. And this was the plan all along. They knew that we were going to be going back to New Mexico. So I don't think the family was unreasonable at all, because this is their relative. This is their blood relative. And he's been gone for 10 years. So I thought it was very reasonable. And I thought it was more than fair that they only wanted him to spend about, 2 weeks with them. And then he can run off and do whatever the hell he wanted to do with Joy and be with her as long as he wanted to be with her. And so Joy was talking about how unreasonable they were. And she was like, it sounds like we're never going to be coming back. Well, the way it looks, I don't think Joy is going to be making any plans to drive back to Missouri from New Mexico anytime soon. So while they're talking, they're having this conversation, Red is busy on his phone, barely paying any attention to what she's saying. And so she gets upset. She talks about how he's always on the phone when she's trying to talk to him. And then she also brings up about how other females were sending him money. And so he said, well, I was going to tell you about that anyway, because she heard it from his mother before she heard it from him. And he goes, well, I was going to tell you about that anyway. I'm not hiding anything. And then they talk about how he confessed to her, basically saying that he also had pictures of other women as well. And she really didn't like that. I mean, she got so overworked about the pictures, she started crying while she was driving. And so she begins to question if this whole relationship is like based on a lie, because she knows that if a woman is going to give a man, especially a man who's incarcerated, who can't really do much for her, if she's going to be sending this man money and sending pictures and all of that, there has to be something more than just, platonic conversation. A woman isn't just going to throw money at any man for no reason. You're going to give him money because you think this is your boyfriend, this is your man, y'all got something going on, he's making promises to you, and that's why, you feel comfortable giving him money. And so Joy knows the what's up, that this was not platonic, because he wants to make it look like there's something about him that is just so irresistible that women who he doesn't even want, women that he's not even attracted to, women that he's got nothing going on with, are just throwing money at him, begging to give him money. And he was just, using them to in turn give this money to Joy, or to give this money to his mother, or whatever. And so there was really nothing going on. So she's not buying that. She's not falling for the okie doke. And, frankly, nobody else is. So they're back in the hotel room. And when they were talking about how he had pictures of women, I thought he had pictures of women on a phone, because, in prison now, from watching Love After Lockup and watching TikTok, because on TikTok, people from jail are doing lives. They are on like TikTok live or Instagram live. And so I would not have been surprised if Red had a phone in prison where he was keeping his women's pictures in. But no, they were literally talking about photographs, because he had a book, and in this album he was keeping all these pictures of women, pictures that they would send to him. So they're in the hotel room, and for the life of me, I don't know why he would confess to having these pictures of these women. especially since they were kept in a photo album, like a physical photo album, and not on his phone, because it's not like she would ever know about it. But he confessed. He told her he had pictures of these women. I guess he took out the pictures for her to see. So back in the hotel room, she's flipping through it, and she's like, and I bet amongst all these pictures, there's not going to be one single picture of me. And there wasn't, not in the album. Then there was a whole nother stack of pictures, which I don't know if her picture was in that stack, but he had like a whole nother stack of pictures of various females. So she's all worked up. She's getting upset. She's crying. They're arguing. And he kind of like throws it in her face about how she had cheated on him. And then he also tells her, you probably have pictures of other men in your phone that you probably deleted as soon as I came out or right before I came out. So I feel like Red will always use the fact that she cheated. When she confessed to him and told him, well, she had to confess because she had a baby. When she told him about, all the men that she was with, she doesn't know who the father of her baby is, and a possibility of being, one out of three men or whatever. She's thinking that I'm being transparent with my man. I'm being honest with him. I'm being open with him. But he's taking that information and he's just waiting for a moment to use it against her, like he did here. So when he was talking about how she may have had other pictures of other men, how she cheated on him. Yeah, now he's using this information that she gave him against her. So this causes them to start arguing, and he decides to leave. So he walks out. He's like, oh man, I'm through with all this. So he walks out of the room and he goes all the way outside, and guess who would show up? Julie, his so-called BFF. So Julie shows up, and he gets in the car with her, and they're driving around and they're talking, and he's got the googly eyes for her, and he tells us that he's very attracted to Julie. And so in the car, he's asking her for a kiss. He's asking her, if he can put a hickey on her so that he can mark her as her belonging to him, or she's his property, so she wants to put a mark on her. I mean, saying all of these things that is clearly showing that this is more than just your best friend. Nobody believed it, Red. I don't know why these people think they can say these bold-faced lies and they think that people are actually believing them, because nobody ever believed that Julie was just his best friend. That was just, his homie. So obviously he has a thing for Julie. Julie obviously has a thing for him, because they go to a gas station, I guess to get gas or something, right? So the whole time that he's with Julie, Joy is calling him. She's blowing up his phone and he's not answering. So she decides to go look for him. So she's driving around looking for him because she's figuring that he can't be too far from the hotel. She ends up actually showing up at the same gas station that Red and Julie are at. They happen to spot Joy before she could spot them. And so they're able to, hightail it out of there. So they leave, right? They drive away. And I guess they went to a hotel or something. I don't know. It seemed like they were gone to, I don't know if it's the same hotel that he was staying with Julie, or this is staying with Joy, or this is a hotel room that Julie got because she was coming to see him anyway. I don't know. But Julie and Red walk into a hotel together, and Joy is still continuously calling him. And the next time that we see them is they're coming out of the hotel together. They're walking out of the hotel together. And in his confessional, they ask him, if him and Julie slept together. And he says in his confessional that they did. And he says that, he just really needed to do this to get this out of his system. He really needed this pass. And of course, this is fueled by the fact that, he feels like he kind of has the right to do this because Joy cheated on him. So he finally answers the phone. She tells him that she has left for New Mexico and that that's it. She's not coming to pick him up. She says, I'm on my way to New Mexico. So he starts begging, baby, please come back. Don't leave me. Da, da, da. So she decides to turn back around and she's going to meet him up at his mother's house. So when she drives up to his mother's house, he's out there waiting. So he comes up to the car thinking he's going to come inside and they're going to drive off to New Mexico. And she's like, you're not getting in my car. You're going to get your stuff and I'm going to leave. And so he's like, he doesn't believe this because he's like, there's no way you're going to, stand up to me and resist me and drive away from me. There's just no way. I know how to control you. I know how to gaslight you. So this is not happening. He's like, he just is in complete disbelief. So he's banging on her window. He's like, open the door, let me in. And she's like, I'm not going to open the door. Stop banging on my window. Get your stuff and go. So he's like, I want to meet, just take me home. Home being New Mexico. We got to go home. Just take me home because I got to go meet my son. All that my son stuff did not work on her. Like, I'm pretty sure it worked on her before. All that my son stuff didn't work on her this time. So she helps him get his stuff out and she gets back in her car and it appears like Joy finally stood up for herself and drove off and left him. It seems like that. It seems like that. So we'll find out the next episode of whether or not she actually walked away from him. But it seems like she found a backbone. She found some self-respect. She found a little pride in herself and left him in the dust. But we won't know until next week's episode. Moving on from there, we have Melissa and Louie. Melissa and Louie were really interesting this time around. So Louie complains to his mom about Melissa and her wishy-washy ways, meaning that, Melissa at first tells him, I want you to be more independent. I want you to be your own person, make your own decisions. But then when he made the decision to buy himself a car, she got upset and she was like, well, you should have consulted with me first. So of course the mother is like, oh, she's just confused. You don't need that. She doesn't know what she wants. She can't have it both ways. So then Louie drops a bomb on his mom because the mom told him that she was going to take him to the dentist to finally get his teeth fixed. And he tells his mom, you don't have to because Melissa's going to come and she's taking me to the dentist. And so the mom was like obviously offended by that. So Melissa does the Uno reverse on him and tells him that she will not be coming to Georgia to take him to the dentist because there's a work emergency at the post office. So she can't go. So, but the real reason is that she's tired of doing things for him. She wants him to be more of a man, be more independent, take care of himself, take care of her. And so the fact that he's constantly asking her a million questions on how to do this, how to do that, she's sick and tired of it. He's not making enough money for her. So she's kind of like, frustrated with Louie. And so she wants him to do this whole dentist thing by himself. It's got nothing to do with her job. She's like a little bit frustrated with him. So, and also he's not making any type of concrete plans on moving to New Jersey. So Louie goes to the dentist. Of course, his mom takes him. And when they get there, the dentist tells him, well, we can't do the procedure right now because our pipe's busted. So, you're going to have to wait or we may have to reschedule. So they decide to go ahead and wait. He FaceTimes Melissa and he sees that she is not at work. And so he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, nothing. He's like, you're supposed to be at work at some post office emergency. And so because he's caught her in a lie, now she wants to emasculate him and say, oh, Louie, I don't want to come over there because I'm tired of your BS. You're not doing enough. You're not taking care of business. I'm over here paying a mortgage, paying bills. And he's like, well, so am I. And she's like, evidently not. So she goes on and on about how she feels like she's the man in the relationship because he's just not doing enough financially. And so she says, you know what? I need a break. And so he's like, are you breaking up with me? She says, no, I'm not breaking up with you. I just need a break from this relationship. He goes back inside the dentist office and he tells his mom about this argument that he had with Melissa, which is adding fuel to the animosity. Every time he complains to his mom about Melissa, she just dislikes Melissa more and more and interferes more and more in his relationship with her. And it just doesn't go anywhere. So I need him to be a man in the sense of stop running to your mom with every single time you and your girlfriend have an argument because you already know how your mom feels about her. So your mom doesn't have to have the play-by-play details every time you and Melissa get into a disagreement. But he tells his mom about the argument, how Melissa tells him he's not doing enough, etc. And so the mom, she promptly gets up and she tries to hook him up with one of the girls that are working at the dentist office. So him and this girl, this young lady, they decide to go outside and have a conversation, and it seems like they're really vibing. She's liking him, he's liking her, they're flirting with one another, giving each other compliments. He asks her, do you want to go out for coffee one day, or do you want to go out with, he asked her, do you want to go out? And she's like, well, let me think about it. So Louie says, I'm on a break. And he tells the girl, because the girl is familiar with Melissa, because when he was coming there for the consultations, Melissa was there with him. So I think the girl is a little bit familiar with who Melissa is. So he tells the girl that, me and my girlfriend, we're on a break right now. She says she wants to take a break. She wants to put the relationship on pause. The girl is like, you need to tell her that you want to put the relationship on pause. You need to tell her that you need a break from her. So it seems like they're on the same page as far as wanting to get to know each other better. And Louie sees nothing wrong with it. He finds her very attractive. He says this is the kind of woman that he would definitely talk to. And so he wants to go out with her, and he tells her, you know what, I'm going to give you my number, and you just let me know when the time is right, and I'll be there. Melissa, you said you wanted to go on a break. Okay, so we don't want to hear you talking about, oh, how could you cheat on me? Because it's on record. Y'all are on a break. Moving on to Britney and Andy. So Britney is still out there, y'all, looking for a damn phone. Because in last week's episode, she walked away from Andy after he gave her the remaining of the $1,200, the remaining $700. No, he gave her $500. So she has $1,000. He promised her $1,200, but he ends up getting the other $500. So she has $1,000 now. So she's out there. She walked away from him, and she's just trying to get a phone so she can call somebody and get the hell out of there. So she is just randomly stopping people, asking random strangers if she can use their phone. Cars are driving by, and she's flagging them down. Can I use your phone? Can I use your phone? Can I use your phone? Girl. And when you had a whole phone. So she then, Andy walks up to her because he's never too far away, right? So he walks up to her and he's like, what are you doing? And she says, can I use your phone? And he's like, for what? And she says, I don't know what she said. So he gives her the phone to use, his phone to use. And she calls her daughter Gracie. And she tells Gracie to call her mother and have her mother come pick her up. And so Andy hears all of this, and then he's like, well, if she's leaving, then I'm leaving, because I only got this house for me and her to stay in. So if she's out of here, then I'm out of here. And I thought that was his house. I thought this man lived in Rome, Georgia, but this is not his house. And he does not live in Rome, because he says the only reason I'm in Rome is for her, but now she's leaving. So he gets his stuff, he packs up his stuff, and he acts like he's driving away, but he's really not, because he U-turns it right back. And as she's giving her a little interview, he comes up to her, and she sees him from the corner of her eye, and she's like talking to the producers, and she's like, is that him? Is that him? Is he coming up? Yes, Britney, that's him, and he's definitely coming up. So he walks up to her, and he's like, what can I do to get you to come with me? And she's like, not a damn thing. She goes, it's over. I'm done with you. And, she talks about how he's a liar, et cetera, et cetera. And Andy says to us that he did not see this coming. He says he never would have imagined things would work out like this in a million years. That's what Andy says. He didn't see this coming. And I'm like, how could you not see this coming when I even saw this coming, and everybody else watching this show saw this coming? And Andy, you are a police officer, so you know how the game goes. You know how people get played from jail. You're a police officer. Okay, with anybody else, we can probably cut him a little bit of slack, just a little bit, but you're a cop. And you know how people who get in trouble with the law have a tendency to lie and to be very manipulative and to constantly be conniving and trying to pull the wool over people's eyes to get what they want. You are a cop, and you still didn't see this coming. So Britney says that she really felt the urge to use, but she resisted. And so she feels very proud of herself that she did not use. While Andy, on the other hand, tells us that he thinks that she definitely is using or is about to go use because of her erratic behavior. He considers the fact that she doesn't want to be with him. He sees that as her being very erratic. She was just in a rush to get Andy, you gave this woman $500 because he already gave her 500 when she first came out. Okay, maybe then you didn't really know any better and you really had high hopes of how this relationship was going to play out because she just came out of prison. You had already promised her this money. So she just got out of prison. You wanted to make her happy, so you gave her the first 500. We'll let you slide with that. But then you went ahead and gave her the second 500 after she made a fool out of you, after she refused to sleep with you, after she kept running away from you, after she kept on like talking under her breath, and every time you walked anywhere near her, she would, say something really mean to you, and she would try to get away from you, and she wouldn't even want to sleep on the same side of the house as you. Forget about being in the same room or bed. She didn't even want to sleep on the same side of the house as you. Okay. And you still went to the bank and gave her that additional $500. So she couldn't wait to get away from you. So it's not her being erratic and acting like a junkie. It's her trying to get away from you because she doesn't like you. And you let her use it. I would not have gotten that second $500. I would not have done that. But Andy, you did, because you wanted to. You were trying to buy her love and buy her attention and buy her affection. And it just wasn't for sale. And you just completely missed that. I just don't understand how you did not pick up all of the signs that this woman does not like you, is not attracted to you, does not want anything to do with you. Because when y'all were still at the hotel, she got her bags and she left. She ended up coming back, but she left. When you took her to her son's birthday party, she left you high and dry in the parking lot. She wouldn't even let you come inside the facility where the birthday party was happening just for you just to meet her children. She didn't even want you to do that. And you still went to the bank and got her that $500. Moving on. Britney and Krock. So Krock is FaceTiming his goddaughter, and Britney is in the room and she's observing all of this, and little baby was so cute. And so he's FaceTiming his goddaughter, and it just gives Britney all the feels because she just, imagines what kind of a father Krock will be once they have their own children because, of the way he's interacting with his goddaughter. And so when he gets off the phone with his goddaughter, Britney brings up this whole issue of having kids and how she can't wait to have a family with Krock, and she can't wait to see him interact with their own children. And Krock says that after seeing the doctor, he's decided that he doesn't really want to go through with the whole process anymore. He says, after seeing the doctor, I'm moving further and further away from this whole idea of us trying to have a child. And Britney says, I'm not trying to have a baby like right now. It doesn't have to be right now. And Krock says, it doesn't have to be ever. I don't want kids. And she's like, what? And Krock says, yeah, I don't want kids. We don't have to have children for us to be a family. Just because we get married doesn't mean that we have to have kids, because there's couples out there with no kids. So I don't want that. He's like, I'm not trying to take those shots. I don't know if he's saying this because him and Britney are just so dead set on Krock carrying the baby. Not carrying the baby. They're so dead set on Krock, Krock using his eggs. And that's why he's like, I'm not doing this because it's going to mess up my body and my transitioning. And I don't want to get off my T-shots. And I'm not trying to do any of that. I wonder if that's why, because what is wrong with her carrying? What is wrong with them using her eggs? Now, if she were to use her own eggs and he didn't have to go through that process of harvesting eggs, would Krock be more willing to have kids with her? I'm trying to understand, what's really, why haven't they discussed plan B, which is harvest or use Britney's egg in whichever way? We all know that she ain't going to go sleep with a man, but IUI, they can do an IUI. Or even IVF or what? Why can't they use her? I'm trying to why can't they just use Britney's eggs? The dream was for her to carry Krock's baby, but Krock his body's on a whole different trajectory, so you can't do that. So why don't you just go to plan B? And maybe Krock would be more willing to have a child because he won't have to interrupt his transition. I don't understand what's going on with these people, but Krock told her he don't want to have kids. And, she was acting really shocked and surprised about that and acting really disappointed. I'm like, girl, Britney, just ask him, well, can we just use my eggs? I don't understand why that's not an option for them. I don't know. Moving on to Chelsea and Mikey. So Mikey's doing really good. He's on his grandfather's farm. He's helping his grandfather out on the farm. He's working. He's making money. He's doing really, really good for himself. So he is getting ready to go to Ohio to meet Chelsea and I'm assuming her children as well, and to meet Chelsea's dad. And so he's really nervous about it because, one of his friends comes to see him and he's telling his friend that he's going to go to Ohio to go meet his girl's dad. And he's nervous about it because the dad's kind of scary. He carries a gun. He's a no nonsense kind of guy. He's really, really protective of his daughter and has never liked any of Chelsea's boyfriends. And so then he mentions to his friend, while I'm up there, I also want to get to the bottom of this $5,000 that she has in her account. So he says that I guess Chelsea had mentioned in passing that she had saved up $5,000. And so he asked her, how did you get $5,000 or where did you get that money from? And she got really offended and she flicked him off and, she didn't like it. She didn't like the fact that he was asking her. And he says, I want to know, did a man give it to her? What was this? Speculations like, did a man give it to her? Is she involved in criminal activity? He's like, I need to know these things because I'm a felon and I don't want to get in trouble with her. Like, she's not involved in criminal activities. Okay, that. And if a man gave it to her, that man is no longer in the picture. I don't think that she's seeing anybody else while she's seeing Mikey. And I'm like, what difference does it make on how she got the money? Why is that a concern? I don't understand. Maybe she was saving all these years. People do save money. Or did she just come into it just out of nowhere? Like, I wasn't clear on that. Was this money that she's been saving for a while, or did she just come into this money all of a sudden and that's why he's so suspicious? Anywho, he goes to see his daughter to say goodbye to her, and the little girl is kind of sad because she says it feels like her dad is going back to prison again. So she asks her dad, are you going to Ohio to propose to Chelsea? And he's like, no, I'm not going to go propose to Chelsea. And he says, would you want me to propose to Chelsea? And she's like, hell no. She says, I don't want my parents to marry other people and I want you all to myself. So yeah, it is kind of sad, but he says he's gonna be back in 2 weeks, not to worry, he's coming back. And yeah, so we'll see how that goes. Moving on to Shereé and Anthony. So they're leaving the welcome home party and they're late. They got 15 minutes to get back to the apartment before his curfew. And so they're like hightailing it down the road. They're speeding. And I'm just like, how did y'all let this slip by? I don't understand. The one thing that y'all had to concentrate on was making sure that Anthony got back on time to meet his curfew. That was the one thing that y'all had to worry about. Like, how did y'all let that escape y'all? I don't get it, because he had to go through hoops to be able to even go to the party. His parole officer, I guess, did a favor for him by allowing him to go and give him a 1 o'clock curfew. How did y'all let that slip by? I don't understand. So they make it to the apartment right on time. At exactly 1 a.m. So the next time that we see them, Shereé is trying to get him out of bed because she wants to do this whole role-playing thing for a job interview, to get him ready for job interviews. So I'm thinking to myself, the man's worked before, so he's familiar with job interviews. He's had jobs before he went to prison. I think he understands how they go and what's expected of him. He's not dumb. And job interviewing has not changed in the amount of time that he's been in prison. So she sets up the table. They're sitting across from each other, and so she's starting to go through all the questions that a prospective employer would ask, and Anthony's just not feeling it. He's just like, whatever, he's just giving whatever answers. He's distracted. He doesn't really care. And then at the end of it all, she tries to give him feedback, and he's just not feeling it. He's just like, whatever, girl, whatever. I'm not interested in this. And she wants him to take it more seriously. She's extremely controlling. She's very, 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 very controlling. But Anthony says he loves this woman. This is the woman for him, and he wants to be with her for the rest of his life. And I just don't understand, like, why do you want to be controlled that much? She is extremely controlling. And so he goes back to bed. He's like, bump all this. I'm going back to bed. Yeah. I think he'll be fine. Okay, I think he'll be fine. He's not going to be interviewing for like CEO or anything like that. He'll be fine. That is a little job interview. And that is my review. Thank you so much for joining me, y'all. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video if you like this content, subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.